Hello everyone, my name is Pranav Jain. Welcome to our presentation on the impact of Russia-Ukraine conflict on supermarket supply chains, disruption, alternatives, and long-term outlook. The first slide is about introduction. The war in Ukraine, which erupted in early 2022, disrupted more than just local stability. It sent shockwaves through the global food supply system. Ukraine and Russia are two of the most important exporters of grain and sunflower oil worldwide. When critical ports were blackout, these exports started and ripple effects spread quickly. UK supermarket relying on these international networks for affordable and timely food imports began to experience immediate difficulties. Product availability dropped while prices soared, especially for essentials like bread and cooking oil. Consumers started to feel this in their weekly shopping basket. This disruptions has raised serious concerns in the retail sector about how to handle such vulnerability. It brings forward a core question for supply chain managers: how do we future proof our logistics in the face of unpredictable international conflicts? Then moving to the next slide, industry conflict concept. Industry conflict exposed the UK's vulnerability to disruptions in the Eastern European trade corridors. Ukraine plays a critical role in the feeding in the world, exporting huge volumes of grain and vegetable oil, while Russia dominates the fertilizer market with the Black Sea acting as primary transport alternatively for these exports. Its closure was major logistical blow. Supplies settled prices skipped and countries across Europe, including the UK, had to scramble for alternative routes. Products that may consumers take for granted, like sunflower oil or basic bread, become both the hardest source of more expensive supermarket. Not only dealt with the inflationary pressures but also operational difficulties such as delayed shipments and inflating shelf stock. This concept is essential to understanding the complex web of political, economical, and logistical forces currently shaping food supply chain in the UK. Then moving to the next slide, theoretical framework. The properly evaluate the effect of the conflict and the ways UK supermarket responded, a robust analytical foundation was essential. We selected three interconnected frameworks for supply chain risk management model help track how retailers identified critical points of failure of implemented in immigration strategies like diversifying source or changing routes. The triple bottom line framework bordered our focus to examine not just profitability but also environmental and social responsibility, crucial when rerouted logistics may increase emissions or imagines supplies. Finally, the PESIL framework enables us to scan external macro level forces from political sanctions and emergency costs to environmental policy and trade agreements. By layering these three frameworks, we captured the complexity of a supply chain under pressure from war, inflation, regulation, and customer behavior. This structured lens allowed us to analyze both the immediate reactions and the long-term strategic needs of the supermarket industry. Then moving to the next slide, stakeholders landscape. Stakeholders map categorizes key actors based on their level of power and interest in the supermarket food supply chain. Retail and regulators hold both the high power interests. They make operational decisions and enforce standards. Trade bodies and investors have significant influence but may not engage daily with logistics issues. Meanwhile, consumers and NGOs are deeply affected by the supply chain disruptions, particularly price and sustainability, but they provide less direct power. Frameworks, especially small scale ones, also feels the ripple effects. Understanding these dynamics is essential for designing adaptive strategies that meet the expectation both powerful stakeholders and vulnerable groups. I am moving to the topic to my fellow teammate.
Hello everyone, my name is Jannatul Firdos. Here is the research strategy and methodology. Our philosophical approach is interpretivist and indicating that we are concerned on industry decision instead of pursuing universal principles. Inside, we're developing inductive from the data rather than the theoretical framework. We implemented a case study methodology to investigate the particular challenges encountered by the UK supermarket supply chain due to the Russia and UK war conflict. The methodology facilitated an examination of the issue within the real world context. Due to the limitation in time and resources, we depend on the secondary data, and which encompassed market reports, policy evolution, and quantitative trade strategies. By this mixed method strategy, we acquire a more comprehensive analytical viewpoint, which is both numerical and narrative evidence. The thematic content analysis was instrumental and revealing the themes in strategy, while comparative the analysis allowed us to differentiate the market responses prior to and following the invasion. And moving to the next slide. Is the resources of data. Our data resources were chosen based on the credibility, relevance, and the timeliness, and which placed a significant reliance on the government data set, including those from the DEFRA and ONNs, and modified their ONNs, which provide a practical insight into how supermarket modified their logistics. To obtain an international viewpoint, we utilize resources from FAO and WTO, and especially those monitoring port closer and trade corridors. Real-time updates from the new organizations such as the Reuters and the Financial Times enabled us to remain informed about rapidly evolving situation like sanction and or export restriction. And furthermore, the academic publication from the Science Direct ensured that our analysis was ensured and in a contemporary peer-reviewed research. On the next slide, here's the mapping the disrupted supply chain. Before the war, most Ukraine agriculture exports moved through the Black Sea port, and as such as Odyssey and Mariupol. These provided efficient and low cost access to the Europe market, including in Ukraine. However, the conflict has several disrupted this route, and ports have been blocked, bombed, and mined, and causing a complete halt in the normal maritime trade. As a result, exporters and government have had developed a new logistic pathway, such as the Romanian port, like Constanta, have seen the surge in use, and Baltic region have gained prominence, and many of these rely on the mixed model transport like railroad, and adding complexity, and this is adding complexity and the cost, and these changes have affected delivery frame time and the freight pricing and the product quality, all of which have the major implications in UK supermarket supply chain. On the next slide, we can see on the our first chart from the Bloomberg is in 2023 show a dramatic change in UK grain stockpile following the collapse of the Black Sea Grain Initiative. As you can see on 2022, the stockpile of the key crops like corn and wheat and sunflower had reached extraordinary levels, over 17 million metric tons, due to the blocked export routes. And on the second chart, you can see the European Council on 2023 illustrate the conflict between the events and global food prices, and however the Russia extend the price began the upwards. And on the third image, you can see that it reminds us the Russian Ukraine counted up to 27% of the global wheat exports, and over 20% barley and maize. This concentration makes a supermarket supply chain highly vulnerable, and this disruption illustrates the tighter sourcing consumers in UK, and the price fluctuations underlines the need for strategic risk mitigation and long-term planning. And on the next slide, the chart of the below left corner, it shows the Ukraine wheat exports plugging in 2022 due to the war and disrupting UK food manufacturing reliant on the import grains. The chart at the upper left corner, it highlights the raises on the non-domestic gas and electricity prices affecting logistics and storage and packaging, driving up the supermarket cost. And the third chart reveals that the consumer behavior discounters like Aldi, Sainsbury, Tesco, as the shoppers looked for cheaper alternative, putting more pressure on the supermarket to source low cost product effectively. And overall, the data shows how geographically it affect the ripple through the UK retail logistics, energy and consumer patterns. Thank you. Here is all my part. The next part will discuss by my fellow members.
Thank you so much, Jannatul. My name is MDM Innocent, and I am presenting my slide, Emerging Alternatives and Adaptations. In response to the Russian-Ukraine conflict, UK supermarket diverse their supply chain, sourcing productions from countries like Brazil and Canada, and contacting more UK farms, boosting resize, but introducing cost and quality trade. Logistics were reconfigured with European freight provided an alternative route to bypass Black Sea blockage, adding complexity. However, while adapting procurement strategies like buffer stocks help ensure supply, ongoing risks like storage limit, pricing volatility, and long-term stability. Next slide. Um, uh, Framework applications, supply chain risk management. The SCRM framework helps UK supermarket respond to supply chain stocks for the Ukraine conflict with shifts to alternative sources, strategies, buffer stocks, and formalized monitoring system. By diversifying suppliers and tracking freight and inventory. This approach now serves as a model for managing future uh, disruptions. The next slide. Framework application, a typical bottom line. The typical bottom line framework shows us supermarket balance profit people and the planet during the crisis. Socially, they supported a food bank and panic buying. Environmentally, local sourcing offset increased transport emissions. Finally, rising cost discount retail grow by offering affordable alternatives. Next slide. Cluster analysis. External focuses shaping supermarket supply chain. The Bristol framework revealed how to Russia-Ukraine conflict, UK supermarket supply chain across political, economic, and uh, legal dimensions. From call-up gain route to rising cost and sticker break exit checks. Technological tools like RFID improve triability through upstairs. The next slide. Short-term solution. In the next 6 to 12 months, supermarket must act swiftly by diversifying, improve by Brazil, Canada, and the European Union to reduce resilience on the Black Sea route. Despite higher transport cost, building strategic reserves and expanding in intermodal logistics can supply stocks. Flexible products space and smart reorder planning will help manage shift and provident stock out. Thank you so much. And my next member presenting rest of the slide.
Thank you, Yamin. Myself, Sujit Dasari. Uh, Long-term resiliency building, that is between 12 to 36 plus months. Building long-run resiliency means redesigning, not patching supply systems. Digital logistics layers are foundational. Integrating RFID, IoT, shipment telemetry, and blockchain batch record enables fast rerouting when corridors fail and supports recall integrity. DEFRA and retailers could co-develop shared data portals to anticipate national shortages at the production level, increasing expansion given the right contract incentives. Controlled environment farming and urban vertical systems can be buffered, imported sector the stability. Aligning these shifts with carbon reporting under Scope 3 ensures resiliency efforts reinforce rather than undermine sustainability goals. Limitations and external pressures. There are real limits to what can be confidently modeled. Trade data across customer zones is noisy. Re exported EU gain mixed with Ukraine origin often masks true UK exposure. Commercial inventory levels are not fully disclosed, making resiliency assignments are imperfect. Forecasting is further complicated by on again, off again, access to Black Sea and Dunnable routes. Seasonal variancy become difficult to plan. Beyond the war, other pressure accumulates. Be exit related documentation adds delay, energy, or good fits. Rapid resorting or heavy buffer stocking can increase costs of environmental footprints. These contrasts underline the need for adaptive data improving strategic going forward. Recommendations. To conclude, we process a two-tied strategy combining short-term contingency planning and long-term investment. In the immediate future, supermarkets should be rerouting framework ready when primary coordinators fail and diversify away from the violation zones like the Black Sea. Transparency is a supplier relationship will enable faster response over the next coming years. Digital upgrade like blockchain for traceability and sensor-driven environment inventory tracking will enable smarter logistics. In parallel, UK must bolster its own agriculture capacity, particularly for grains and oils, through targeted public and private contracts. Collaboration across industry and government is essential, especially after around the border infrastructure and sustainability alignment. These recommendations are grounded in current practices, real data, and aligned with supermarket goals of availability, affordability, and accountability. Conclusion. In summary, the Russia-Ukraine conflict has exposed how fragile global and supply chains are, especially for UK supermarkets that rely heavily on imported grains and oils. Over the last 2 years, adoption has been begun. Alternative suppliers are being used. Intermodal routes have been explored, and local sourcing is expanding. But much of this is still reactive and fragmented. True ethical supplier relations. Our analysis using CRM, TBL, and Pestel framework has shown the complexity of landscape, but also highlighted where the strategic action is possible. Reliance is not just about managing the crisis; it's about anticipating the next disruption and being ready. Peace and Here are the references. Thank you everyone.